Republican lawmakers are eyeing a lawsuit against President Biden's student loan relief plan. WMBD's Matt Sheehan sat down with Congressman Darin LaHood about if this lawsuit should happen on the record.
All right. Well, Darin, thanks so much for being here today.
Good to be with you, Matt.
All right. Good to have you. Well, first, millions of Americans are awaiting student loan forgiveness, which was just announced recently by the Biden administration. Do you approve of the president's plan? Why or why not?
Well, I have real concerns about what the president did. First of all, he did it through executive action. He didn't do it through Congress. Something that is this big and this large should have come through the congressional process. We should have had a say in it. And I have real concerns about canceling debt for people that, if you're a truck driver or you're a mechanic or you're a plumber and you decided not to go to college, why should you now be paying the student debt for lawyers and doctors and PhDs? I think there's a real inequity in doing that, and I've heard that from a lot of my constituents. First of all, nothing is free. The people that would be paying back this student debt that gets canceled are taxpayers, and it gets put on the backs of taxpayers. So I did not support the president's move. I think it creates a lot of inequity. I understand there's a lot of student debt out there, but I don't think this is the right approach to take. Send it to Congress. Let us work on a piece of legislation, go through the legislative process, let people have feedback on it. That wasn't done here.
When you talk about taxpayers having to pay this back one day, what would that look like? Would it be tax increases, more fees? What are you thinking?
Well, it's hard to know, but when you're canceling student debt, what that means is the federal government is going to pay that to the institution that is owed the money or whoever that student borrowed the money from. So it's the federal government, paying that off, and that comes from federal taxpayers.
Well, I've heard from, people making $50,000, less than $50,000 who are very excited about this. They were stressed. They've been in debt for a long time. Now they're saying they might get $10,000 or $20,000, kind of wiped away from this. Do you think it could be beneficial for some people in the lower and middle class, though?
Well, again, I think having input from both sides of the aisle on this would have been more beneficial. The checks and balances we have in our government work fairly well, and we should have had that here. Again, to do it in an arbitrary fashion, to do it unilaterally, to just make the decision to do this, I think was the wrong approach, and that's what the Biden administration did here. But again, I also think, how can the president make that decision? I think it's also unconstitutional and illegal to do this. The framework that he used to do this, I think, is faulty. There's going to be a lawsuit filed on this, and we'll see how that plays out.
I was just about to ask you about that. The Arizona Attorney General says he's working with colleagues to sue the Biden administration over the forgiveness policy. Now, you were a lawyer before politics. Do you think trying to sue is the best move forward?
Well, I think it's our only option at this point, but I think there's real legal issues there. I think there's some real problems with the way that they went about doing this and the justification they used to do it. So I feel fairly confident that there'll be a good lawsuit here moving forward. And the bottom line is, I think nothing is free. I know the president talks about cancellation and free. This goes on the backs of taxpayers.
If a lawsuit is brought forward, would you sign your name onto that and kind of join in that force?
Well, I don't know that I'll do that. There is something called an amicus brief that lawyers can sign onto and politicians can sign onto, or elected members of Congress. I will consider that and look at the amicus brief.